Rest Club is an online platform, and it supports people who are very overworked and overtired and need care. It's a community, it's a club for rest because we don't get enough of it. Yeah, the response has been good is the short answer. I'm really pleased about that. My advertising was initially just to my subscriber, my mailing list, which isn't enormous, but I had a really strong response. I had a 8% sign up initially from just contacting my subscribers list via my newsletter, which was really excellent. It was much more than I expected initially. I've only recently done my first advertising campaign. It ran for a week and I had a 580% return on that advertisement. So there's obviously a need for this type of support. Pre-2020, I had a very demanding professional job on top of my yoga teaching at a university. I worked very long days, they're about 9.5 hours, and then I would teach in the evenings. It was really, really exhausting. My business model was teaching for studios and it didn't diversify at all from that, which I couldn't afford to live off of. Studio classes, while great for community building, I really love teaching studio classes, just don't pay the bills. So I ended up staying in my professional job a lot longer than I probably would have liked, and I really ended up leaving once I had a gap in my contracts, but also largely because I was completely burnt out. I couldn't do both. It turns out you can't do everything. So yes, it felt like I really wanted to leave the professional environment of the university, but I just didn't know how I was going to make my yoga teaching career sustainable. And as a yoga teacher, and I guess this comes back to like what I was doing before, I had such a narrow view of what I could do with my expertise and my knowledge. My idea of diversification was not just teaching at a studio, but maybe also running workshops, which, don't get me wrong, is excellent. But it's the same type of thing. I had to be 100% there, 100% of the time, 100% exerting my energy for a one-time situation. I didn't explain that very well, but you know, that's great and fine until one of your studios goes under, or they change their pay rates suddenly and it's a lot less than what you started with, and that has happened to me. They change their policies, or say a pandemic hits, or in my instance, you end up with 3 months of chronic fatigue / fibromyalgia where you're not actually physically able to teach in a studio every day. And to earn a living wage, I needed to teach 25 classes a week, which I physically could not do with the kind of joint pain I was experiencing at the beginning of this year. So, you know, the response has been wonderful, but there's obviously people out there like me that can't keep doing things at 150%, whatever kind of work you're doing. I'm not teaching outside of my wheelhouse anymore, which is great. I'm doing stuff I'm really passionate about, which is great. And also because I have quite, I'm just going to say, I have quite brittle joints. I have a relatively overactive nervous system from years of chronic burnout and a little bit of, you know, we've all got a little bit of trauma thrown in there as well that sits in the tissue. I'm also teaching at a speed, I'm creating content at a speed that I physically can cope with as well, which makes me sound quite feeble, but it's more about sustainability, long-term self-care, and also, to be quite frank, being paid what I'm worth. The reality is, having my own platform has given me actual professional autonomy. And that's huge as a business owner. And that's the thing, I never didn't see myself as a person running my own business. But not teaching within the confines of a studio requirement has completely allowed me to build a platform where what matters most to me is really at front and center without compromise. And I can do that, teaching from an autonomous position, and I can focus on things like yoga nidra and how we interact with our nervous systems. And the great thing is that people come to me for that thing. So it also means I can be anywhere. It hasn't restricted my sort of teaching pool to Adelaide, which is where I'm located at the moment. And also, like, the way in which I'm reaching people. It's not just a yoga class now, it's all kinds of things. We do quarterly workshops as a part of our membership as well, and we talk about things like breath work, but also things like getting that quality sleep, or how to access restorative yoga poses in shorter periods of time. I don't know, there's lots of things that my knowledge can support people with in this area, which I can now do, which is just wonderful. So I launched the Rest Club, and that to me is a really massive enough achievement. But beyond that is, honestly, the success has come from the fact that I even thought for a second that that was possible. This community has really made success feel manageable. Wouldn't it be great if being a successful business owner also meant creating a business where you're not perpetually busy or burnt out? Wouldn't that be wonderful? Because I think that's a real crisis for yoga teachers. We're so busy teaching people how to take care of themselves, and it's not that we're not doing that, but you have to work so hard to get not very far, financially speaking, I suppose. It's not just about getting those numbers, it's also about working in a way that actually works for you. Yeah, I love it, and I never want to leave.